let's not be threatened by people's success. Let's be curious. Let's wonder about it, but let's not be threatened by it. Let's be excited. Let's ask questions. And conversely, let's share.
Hey guys, Danny Hauger here, and this is the most inspiring episode of Inspiring Teachers yet, with a guest panel that includes Kristen Nan, Tamara Letter, Jeffery Fried, Becky Schnekser, and Miss Simon, all in one place, and it's phenomenal. Thank you for joining us. Before we get into the episode, I want to tell you about a friend who started up a teacher website, ampedup.learning.com, and if you're looking for a new and engaging way to get your students up and moving in the classroom, get out of the sit and get rut by teaching and checking out ampedup.learning.com. It's a two-teacher-owned and operated company in Texas. They're friends of the show. They're looking to gamify teaching with creative new activities for the classroom, from their FREC resources and escape rooms for social studies and science to speed squares and task cards for math and English. There's just tons of resources there. You can even find a couple Danny Hauger created resources there as well. And to help you out, use code HaugerHistory10 to save 10% on all items, and follow them on social media at Amped Up Learning for their monthly giveaways of Amazon gift cards, lessons, and apparel. With no further ado, let's get into the show today. It's an amazing panel, and there are just some heartwarming moments that I know you're going to enjoy. Thanks for listening, liking, watching, and subscribing to Inspiring Teachers. And here's our first ever panel episode.
Yeah, do you have anything you want to say before we begin?
Oh, we'll have things to say. Don't worry about that. All right, we'll get started then.
Welcome to Inspiring Teachers, a show bringing you classroom tips, motivation, and stories from successful educators. Join Tavis Beem and Danny Hauger as they explore the why of teaching.
Oh, welcome to a jam-packed, super inspiring edition. It's so inspiring, I'm almost perspiring because it's kind of warm in the evening, right?
It's getting warm over here.
Tavis Beem is here. How you doing, buddy?
Thank you so much. It's great to be back.
Oh, so exciting to be here. It's good to be back, and with the biggest panel and the most prestigious guest that we've had so far. We have so much good to talk about today. I just want to mention one thing that Tavis and I are especially energized, and I don't need any reason to talk faster than normal, but it's here. It's like Costco Muffin City right now, because Tavis and I just booked a speaking engagement at St. Mary's College May 11th at the Action Research Conference. From 8:30 to 12:30, we'll be doing 3 live episodes featuring the outstanding research of students presenting their masters and doctorates. And that's just a huge honor for us to be invited. St. Mary's is full of wonderful students, and we'll be glad to be there. If you want to join, the registration is free, and we'll put the link up in the description. And it's just going to be an amazing chance for us. But even more amazing is that we have some of the greatest and most inspiring teachers on social media and around the country joining us today. And they are here with us. If we all said hi at the same time, would that sound awful or great? Let's find out.
I don't know if the computer could handle that.
We peak the audio.
All right, well, Kristen Nan, thank you so much for joining us. And I looked a little bit what you're doing online, and tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey about talking about grit.
Talking about grit. Well, my name's Kristen. I'm from Pittsburgh, third grade teacher, a bit of a disruptor in education. Needed to go that route about 5 years ago when I was ready to leave, honestly. Never in my life would have ever thought that education would ever come to an end for me, but I was well at that point where I needed some change. So that's where that grit comes from. It's something that was a part of me from a very young age, so leaving anything just didn't seem like an option. But going back and really digging deep and knowing that when the times get tough, it is literally, instead of an obstacle, it's an opportunity. And it's something that I really try to strive to, I have little 8-year-olds in class, and I want them to realize it's okay. Like, we got this together, and we're going to dig a little deeper, and we're going to go for it. So yeah, that's where I come from. That's my foundation.
And that's such a powerful message for us all teachers to hear, that we're all going through those same types of struggle, and that, we're not alone out there. Thank you so much for that introduction. And Becky Simon, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Hey guys, hello from Florida. I'm a teacher. I've been in teaching, working with kids in some form or fashion for about 20 years. I teach first grade right now. And I'm super passionate about social emotional learning. I'm super passionate about taking care of teachers and their well-being. And I don't think any of us wouldn't say we're not passionate about kids. And I adore kids. I have 2 children myself, teenagers. They may come in. I don't have a purple bedroom to hide in, but they may come in. They may come in a little bit later. They both have special needs. And that, one of the things I say to people is I was the best parent until I had children. And then
you knew everything before you
right?
had kids.
I was so good at it. I was the best parent until I had kids. And that's kind of, I came to teaching later in life because my kids had special needs. And I was like a forensic investigator trying to figure out what was wrong with them. And that led me to the passion of coming to this, to be a teacher. So.
And the social emotional strain between so many of us is very strong. We really start to see the importance of that right away. Thank you so much for that introduction. And Tamara Letter, can you tell us a little bit about kindness, please?
Sure, I can talk a lot. So yeah, I'm the kindness girl. I am passionate about kindness. I have been in education for 21 years now, and I've had a couple of different roles. I've been a classroom teacher in elementary. I've been a differentiation specialist, and now I'm actually an instructional technologist. And so my job now is to work and coach with teachers and kind of collaborate with them in bringing technology into the classroom. So it was kind of a unique journey for me to be able to find a way to weave in my passion for kindness in the things that I do in my collaborations with teachers. I have 3 children of my own who range in ages from 9 to 20. And I am just so joyful to be able to share this time with you guys and talk about education and kindness and everything in the middle.
And that's a wonderful thing about kindness, is that it really goes through any discipline that you're teaching. You know, whether it is science, you can talk about kindness and how we interact with each other, or if it's woodshop like I teach, you know, I talk about kindness almost every day because my class wouldn't work if we weren't kind to each other and creating a safe environment. So that's such a powerful message. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I want to bring in the sports broadcasting background just because it feels like we're doing starting lineups, you know? So from the Inland Empire of California, he's one of the teachers teaching survival and thriving. It's Jeffery Fried.
Hey.
Jeffrey, I gave you a little extra.
Yeah, you did.
No charge.
What, show me up there.
Tell us about yourself, Jeffrey, and for the people who didn't see our previous episode, what is it that drives you in teaching?
Well, I love it. It's a weird story for me getting into teaching. I had asked somebody today, I actually told a student today, they were talking about it. And it's kind of like, here's the analogy. If you've ever given a pet a bath, like where you have to put it in the bath and it just kicks and screams and like doesn't want to get in there, that's actually kind of a good metaphor for how I got into teaching. I resisted so hard for so long, and then I got in there and I loved it, and it was exactly what I needed, and it was perfect for me. So I've been doing it for 14 years down here in Southern California, where I met my wife, and we have 4 children. Oh, that's right. And yeah, cool. It's on video now, and it's not just audio.
Yeah, Hollywood. So Michael Bay.
I have that spread like Tamara has, where it's about 10 years apart from my 10-year-old to 5-month-old, who you may hear eventually. She was crying just a second ago. So.
Okay. Well, I'm sure the great lessons of inspirational teaching will calm and soothe, as it often does. It'd be really also really funny if I transitioned from that over-the-top intro to said, and Becky Schnekser's here.
Yeah.
Becky is super fantastic. I talked to her after she returned from the Galapagos Islands, which I mean, sometimes I go to San Francisco and I get excited. Yeah. Becky is really amazing. She empowers students and educators through field science and real research in the field. Tavis is a former science teacher. He didn't get to meet you. I had to get you back together. Becky, how's everything going? And tell us about yourself.
Oh man, it's amazing. It's always amazing. Just an intro about me. I've been teaching for 13 years. I actually, when I first started teaching, talk about Jeff when he was saying he like fighted the education thing. I didn't fight being in education, but I fought science. I had zero interest, honestly, in teaching science. I was a history girl and I was gonna just history it up until I realized when I got into the classroom that science is like the neglected toy that no one plays with. And I picked it up and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play with this toy and I'm gonna keep going and I'm gonna do it the best that I possibly can. And 13 years later, here I am teaching only science at a school. I teach pre-kindergarten through grade 5 science. And I just take this approach where students should be doing science, not just receiving information, not just hearing, well, this is chemistry and this is physics and this is what a volcano looks like. They should be doing the science and really getting in the field, getting dirty, experiencing what science is all about, rather than just kind of receiving information. So that's my backstory. I want to do science. And thank you for the introduction about Galapagos. I recently in the last year realized I love being in the field. And so I was in the Peruvian Amazon over the summer, and then I went to Galapagos. This summer, I'm going to Belize, and then Tangier Island, and then back to the Peruvian Amazon. So getting into the field myself with research scientists and scaling that back to students has become just a thing, and it's been super exciting. So I know I will get into that a little bit later, but that's where I am. I'm team science.
So cool.
That's
Becky's
so
like living my Netflix library. She's coming and doing all these adventures. You fire me up, Becky. I'm pretty excited.
Good. I'm glad.
Just a noun, now a verb.
That would be a great title for the episode. So we are a variety of teachers here. We cover a lot of different spectrum, and I'm not a math teacher, but have over 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 years combined experience. Who knows?
Sure, why not?
Who could possibly add up such numbers? Let's go in the reverse serpentine order here, and let's talk about a question that we had before we started to get us rolling. What's something you've done in the classroom recently that you feel really good about? Because what I love about all of you, and I really sincerely do, and I'm so glad you joined us, is that you guys love what you do and you talk about it all the time, and that fuels people who see that and want to become teachers or who want to reignite their passion. So Becky Schnekser, if we start with you, what's something you felt good about this week?
Oh man, so I literally in the last week have started a student-run and edited podcast, which I have a podcast, and actually Adam Welcome had pushed me. He's my pusher. He said, "Hey, why don't you?" I know everybody needs a pusher, right? And he's mine. So I have a ton, but
pretty powerful pusher. I actually get to work with him. He's from my district.
So. Giving me advice. So he really pushed me to get my students to make a podcast. So in the last week, I took my second graders. I started with them because they're great storytellers already. They're so animated. And I had them just run with it. And I said, listen, here's an episode for my podcast. Listen to this. What do you want to talk about? And to my surprise, a lot of them chose to talk about science, which I didn't push that agenda at all. I just said, what do you want to talk about? What stories do you have? What, how are we going to get everybody at our school excited to listen? Right. And they started talking about science. Some of them started talking about sports. Some of them started talking about travel, which I thought was amazing. And they all, our first episode hasn't been published yet. I'm hoping tomorrow I'm going to get that first episode pushed out, but that's something I'm so excited about, just to hear their stories and literally hear their voices come to life. So that's what I have.
That's super huge. I love getting students involved in podcasting. I use it as a test review for the Hauger History podcast. I have them post lessons and give pretend they're giving newscasts from different points in history. So let us know when it's out, and we'll definitely retweet it. That is huge, and I'm so pleased to hear that you launched that.
So
going to Jeff this week. Jeffrey, how's your week going, and what's a moment that you feel really good about recently?
Well, in the last week, it's accumulation of things that I've been doing this year that's been a little bit different. I've been giving students a lot more voice and choice, and we started with questions. And I know the science teachers will love that. So we started with this question that led to investigation. And eventually, students are coming up with their own content. It's not just me giving a prompt or telling them exactly what to do. And they're finding their own way. And I recently had I challenged them, hey, you need to make an argument about this. So here's several ways you could do it. So I was also, podcast is one way you could do it, a YouTube video, or do a blog post or a series of blog posts. And I've just seen more and more students kind of come alive with that. And even to reading, we're reading Fahrenheit 451 with my sophomores right now. And I said, hey, just capture a spark. What do you think? What's bothering you, exciting you, challenging you as you read? Write something down. And then I want you to form it into a question. And I used Marissa Thompson's TQE method for that. Cool. Oh man, some amazing thoughts that they came up with. And I've had 3 or 4 people sticking around after class to just talk with me about the book, and they're really excited about it. Not all the students, but there's been enough there for me to go, wow, there's really something here. So
That's awesome. And I like that you took the inquiry of let the students' emotion drive them, because they're already invested then. So you can turn that into something productive, and you're really good at bringing a lot of student choice into your classroom. You post about it pretty frequently. I'm a big supporter of that too.
It's really great to see so many people using multimedia platforms as well. And it's a great way to access the learning of our English language learners, because they may not be able to read the textbook, but they can sit down and express themselves verbally.
Yeah, definitely. That's good stuff. We appreciate that. Tamara, your week this week, what is going on in your class and in your experiences?
So it's a little different for me because I don't have a class per se. Right. I just adopt every single kid in the school, claim them as my own. Mm-hmm. But something that I'm working on is something that I also wrote about in my book called A Passion for Kindness. We are doing kindness passion projects. Oh my gosh! So much fun. Sorry. I cannot contain my outburst of joy.
That's awesome. That's good. And everybody started laughing, so it's infectious.
And this is how I'm made. So gosh, apologies, but whatever. Can't control it. So over spring break, we just had spring break, not last week, but the week before. So all year we've had kindness initiatives. I've been working very closely with 2 4th grade classes and 1 5th grade class. So we've kind of scaled the project since we began it 2 years ago. But the big thing we do in the spring is we do these kindness passion projects, and we come in and we tell our students, hey, guess what? We're going to give you $10 each, and you're going to go change the world. Ooh. Figure it out.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. And for, I teach at a Title I school, and many of our students have never held a $10 bill, much less been given the opportunity to actually make a decision about how money is spent. And so it's a really empowering moment when we tell them about the project and then they realize we're serious. So right before spring break, we send the money home with the kids. And prior to that, the kids have brainstormed their ideas and who they might want to bless and what they're going to do with their $10. And they make a game plan, and then they do it over spring break. And so all during spring break, the parents are emailing us pictures and sending us little tidbits. Oh my gosh, it is so amazing. So the first week when we get back, the kids are like pinging, like they can't even, like, just, oh my gosh. So we are having them create passion projects where they share in a Google Slides, a little like a science investigation format where each slide kind of goes through that process. They have like the title slide, then they have like the procedure, their purpose, the materials. They kind of write it up in that way. And then after spring break, they fill out their results, which are non-emotional, just, hey, what happened? And then their reflections. That's my favorite part. So this week when I went into classes, I was teaching them how to import their photographs from Google Drive. And I was also showing them how to find copyright-free photos online that they don't have to give attribution to, because it's great when you can, but we're dealing with 9 and 10-year-olds, so it's a lot easier just to go to Pixabay and find some decent pictures that go with your project. Excellent. But we wanted to make it equitable, so those children that didn't have parental support or they don't have pictures that were sent in, that they still have images that they can add into their presentations. So they're going to continue working on this. We have a Kindness Share Fair on May 7th, where we invite everybody in, all the families and anybody else that wants to come. And the kids actually practice public speaking, and they share their projects with the world. And then we put them on a website too, to share out on social media. So super pumped, super excited to get that project going.
Oh man, that is so cool. And it didn't take long in this episode to get emotionally touched. I mean, this is such a cool process. You said changing the world, and you could definitely bet that those students will remember that, and it will change their world and perception.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I love that it's during testing season. Like you're testing, everybody's testing. Now you're doing a share fair.
Right.
Yeah. We're bringing joy to the world, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's what we do, because the kids are still working on their standards of learning. They're still doing their English language arts skills. They're still writing. They're still reading. They're still practicing all of that. It's still educationally sound. Why can't we have fun in testing season?
That's so good. And who says that a part of the year that's meant for testing can't be meaningful in multiple ways? So there's so much there, and I'm grateful for hearing that. That is just so amazing how much you're influencing the classrooms of the school that you're involved in. So Miss Simon, I wouldn't want to have to follow that, but
No
I'm
doubt.
wondering what your week is going like, and what's something that made you feel good, because we all have moments, grand or small, that change people's lives and change students' lives and help our classrooms. What's something that you'd share with us?
We're having a share fair? No, we're not. But maybe one day, maybe we might now. Thank you very much for that.
That's a great idea. That's part of the show.
And one thing I will say is mine is from Twitter. And so that's kind of interesting and kind of neat. I don't know if any of you have seen or heard Fablefy, I think it is. But Shilpi Mahajan, she does this mindfulness boot camp, and I'm doing it right now, and I'm doing it for myself as an educator, but I brought it into my classroom. And so we're just paying attention. We're doing noticings. What do you see? What do you think? What do you feel? Look at your breathing. And what I've noticed is it has sort of given me this atmospheric change in the classroom of like sort of a peace-filled feeling, but also just noticing all the feelings that we have. It may be anger, it may be frustration, and just pressing into those things and noticing those things. So that's one of them. The other thing that we've been doing is a check-in through our social emotional program. It's called Sanford Harmony. I'm not plugging it. It's just what we use as a district.
The cards are good. The boxes of
cards.
It's
great. And I love the check-in. And so we're checking in and saying, what's your struggle? What's something that's really challenging in your life right now? And you would be just blown away. I'm teaching 6-year-olds, and just some of the things that they say, if this space is safe enough, the stuff they're going to share is wild. And they also hold you accountable too. And so just having that check-in time, and then during the check-in, finding out that there's ways to solve the problems. So, and then checking in what's great in your life. Conversely, how can we be grateful for things? How can we have gratitude? How can we, so that's been it's no share fair, but it's been a good week.
It sounds like a good week.
It's a share fair. I think it counts.
It's a share fair.
Yeah, we're all sharing.
Everyone's getting checked in with too. Everyone is a part of the conversation. That's
right.
I love class conversations. So that's wonderful. I really liked that. And Kristen, what is something this week that you feel really good about? And by the way, you are one of the most positive people on social media. The next question is about social media. So I'm just really grateful for the things you post every day.
Oh, thank you.
No, it makes me reflect nearly every day of something that you share. But what's a good moment from your experiences this week?
So this week started our state testing, and I know that for many people they're like, like that is not the way we viewed it all. My little people, this is like our championship game. It's like we're suited up, we're going in there with our equipment, and we are ready to rock and roll. The biggest part about it is it all goes and boils down to those relationships, because honestly, when we walk in the door every day, it is like it's our family. This is, hey, I missed you, like get in here, like we're hugging it out. And as my former 3rd graders are walking by going to 4th grade, it's like, hey, come on, you got this today. And we're loving on each other. So that kind of spills into a big social emotional basis that we had over the last couple of weeks. We did Walk in My Shoes, and it's just something that I actually blogged about it recently. It's something that is very dear to my heart, because when I was a child, I really felt that if every teacher realized they were impacting my life every single day, they probably would have viewed things a bit different. Because as at the end of the day, you are going to impact. It's just whether or not it's positive or negative, but the pendulum's going to swing one way or the other. Right. So with Walk in My Shoes, I started off with Dr. Seuss's My Many Colored Days, and it's literally like the simplest book ever. It just has colors, and the kids can kind of imagine how they feel about that color, whether it's yellow or black, and you might think you have like an idea of what they're thinking, but it is unbelievable what that color can mean to them. And so I go through the book, and then we start with just like little cards, and they get one card, and I'll have them hone in on what a black color day is like for them. I'll have them hone in on a yellow, and then I go with like the blasted like rainbow of like, what's that look like when multicolors are coming at you? Because in all honesty, my son, who's 16, he is such a powerhouse. He works with his OCD every day. So when I see rainbows, when I see colors, I see the emotions that go behind my son every day. And those are the type of children we're working with. And if we don't have a relationship with them, we have nothing. Mm-hmm. So as they are doing the walk in my shoes, they're filling their little cards out. And at this point in the year, it's the most invaluable moment when you realize that risk taking, that I've modeled, that vulnerability, that imperfect person that I bring to the table every day, and I allow them to see that they're a part of my world in that craziness that I am. It allows them to be themselves, to be able to vulnerably put down on paper what that color day looks like for them. Mm-hmm. And prior to that, I asked them to bring in a pair of shoes. I always have extras that I bring in myself, but we then take our cards and we attach them to our shoes. And we have like a little bit like a fishbowl talk, and we'll talk about what each color looks like and how is anybody else really going to know what that color day is like for us if we're not vulnerable and allowing them to come into our world, into our space? You know, what our actions are meaning, what our words are meaning to them. Mm-hmm. And in these kind of moments are the most precious, because these relationships have been built from day one and they will last a lifetime. Mm-hmm. I'm 22 years into teaching. My kiddos that are in their 30s still come back to see me. We'll be talking about these moments because they don't ever break. You know, it's as we're talking about these shoes and they're holding on to them, I'll say to them, all right, guys, what do you think? What should we do with these? How can we lead? As leaders, where can we put these? And there's always one that says, hey, let's put them in the hallway. Mind you, there's nothing else to tell why these shoes are there. There's nothing else. It is literally one card on the top that says, take a walk in my shoes. Mm-hmm. And those little shoes line the hallway. And it's literally mind-blowing as you're walking down and you just glance and see these sweet little shoes and you stop and you read a card. And that's the moment that it truly takes you to your core, when you realize this is a whole package every day that we're privileged to be working with. So yeah, walk in my shoes. It was a big moment for us. Yes.
Oh, wow. What a great way to teach social emotional skills, and they really get to think about what other people's perspectives are.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm going to piggyback right on that. I'm going to ask you about yours right after, but I'm going to take something right out of that page, in that I teach government and U.S. history for juniors and seniors in high school. And we oftentimes get very divided in our national discussions and in our politics, and it can be very difficult to share or to try to present things neutrally and try to present all sides. So we're going over political parties. The first thing I did was teach the basic core values of each. I spent equal time on each, but then I did 2-minute video sampling a person from each party at a high point. At a point of respect, where they brought the country and a president from each side, and even people from Green Party and Libertarian, where they're spotlighting the fact of unity, right? Where we're all Americans, and a moment at which the country was succeeding because of something that they did that was looked upon by everyone as progress for the nation. And I think that opened their eyes, and a few of them said, Mr. Hauger, I didn't know that there were good people on like different sides. I'm like, absolutely, this is where we live. You know, this is so important, and the respect we have for people's opinions. I have them go to 4 corners of the room based on strongly agree, slightly agree, and we respect each other. We listen to each other. There was not a fight. There was not any kind of disagreement, and we all left understanding. And I asked them, if you don't understand, ask somebody, help me understand what you mean. And it was just beautiful. Everybody left feeling like a family, and it was really strong. So Tavis, how about you? And then I know you're going to get to a different question, because we all have great stories. We might only get one more question.
I know, right? Really quickly, I'm a woodshop teacher, technology maker, academy teacher. I really have one of the best jobs ever. I just get to build things with kids all the time. And I'm learning a lot in this position, and I'm not huge in technology, and I just got a beautiful $5,000 desktop laser cutter. And I'm trying to figure out how to work it. I don't really know. So I do what I always do. I ask one of my kids to figure it out and then teach me. And it's just amazing to watch these students just navigate through all the different software and finding the files. Like, oh no, you need to convert it. Use this right here. And it's humbling for me. And I can take a back seat, and I can trust these kids and know that they're going to do it because they're excited and they're genuine and they love it. And then I get to show my kids how many times we failed along the way, how many different cuts that we made that were wrong. And I've been running the laser nonstop for the last 3 days, and I've only had one successful project. And one of my first things I teach my kids is the Adam Savage quote, "Failure is always an option." And
Right.
at first they're always like, oh, you know, it's okay to get an F. It's like, no, that's not what it means. It means that when you engage in building, making, learning, anything like that, you've got to let go of your ego and just understand that you're going to make mistakes. It's not going to work. And I'm not going to grade you on whether or not you're successful. I'm grading you on your engagement. I'm grading you on your passion. I'm trying to get you to be as excited about making and underandstanding that don't be so fixated on the end result. It's about the process to get there.
Amen.
Amen.
Preach.
That's really great, man.
So yeah, everybody here, I was looking at the panel, and everybody here, one thing that we all have in common is that we've all in our, you know, we've got so much free time as teachers, we've all decided to also have a social media presence as well. And I wanted to hear a little bit about why we decided to do this, why we decided to have a social media presence, and how has it impacted your classroom? And how have these conversations that you're having online taught you, and what have you brought from your classroom to the social? I know that's like threefold question
and
here.
Plug your account.
Yeah. Like and subscribe.
Yeah.
So yeah, just to reiterate, everybody has a social media presence here. Tell us a little bit about your journey into becoming a social media face as well as a teacher. And I thought, let's just shake it up a little bit.
Sure.
And I'm going to start with Tamara. Can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to social media?
Well, I'm a technologist, so I actually give teachers professional development in how to use social media. So in order for me to teach people, I really have to know how to do it myself. I first connected with people on, actually, I think my first social media experience was MySpace. I was using it to connect with my sister, who at the time lived a couple states away.
So cool.
And then when MySpace folded, we moved over to Facebook, which was brand new.
I so don't want to interrupt, but MySpace is the reason the show's existing, because his wife and I met on MySpace before college, and we wouldn't be here together. So please proceed. They did not sponsor this episode, by the way.
Internet
well, now we're all dating ourselves and how old we are. But yeah, so I started MySpace, and then I got on Facebook, and I was really happy with Facebook. I was like, oh, this is going to be where I live my life, you know, for the rest of my life. And I was really using Facebook to connect with family. And to be honest with you, it really stayed family oriented probably until I got a book contract, and then my world started like exploding. But then I kind of gravitated a little bit towards Instagram because my daughter was a teenager, and that was the hot place for her. And I wanted, you know, to make sure she was doing the right thing over there. So I learned a lot there. And then Twitter, I first joined Twitter like, oh gosh, 2008 or something when it first came out. And I just could not see the purpose of it. It didn't allow you to do pictures, 140 character count. I was like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I'm supposed to learn it and teach it to people and be excited about it. So it was quite a while. I don't think it was until maybe 2014 when I presented an ISTE Ignite that I started realizing, whoa, wait a minute. There's all these people on Twitter, educators, and they're connecting. Maybe I should be doing that. And so that's really when I first started making a more concerted effort to connect with people. And I think I was so excited when I got that first 100 followers. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm famous. Like I was so excited. I was like, I'm in triple digits. Yes. You know? And so I think from there, when I started understanding the platform better, and then realizing the power of connecting with so many amazing people personally, really helped me to find value in the platform. And now in my role as a technologist, I'm supposed to not only provide professional development for teachers and helping them embrace it and see how they can use it to get their own personalized PD and to connect with other educators, learn and grow, but to also empower students to learn how to use these social media platforms in a respectful, positive way to not only share their own story, but carve out their own path. before they're even needing to. So, you know, it's no longer like a digital footprint, it's a roadmap of your life. And so I want to make sure that the students that I'm working with, even though they're all under the age of 13 and technically not allowed to have those social media accounts, I want to make sure that they're aware of them and that they know how important those media accounts are. So I share mine with them and I show them how many followers I have, and we post tweets and we see how many people retweet them and like them, and we just share conversations about that, because I think it's important for everyone to understand and to harness that power of social media.
Yeah, just what's your brand? You're 13. Come on, tell me. You know, you gotta know your path. Yeah, but it's really true. Becky, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into social media?
Which Becky?
Oh, I'm sorry. The Galapagos Island Becky.
That's awesome. I hate following you, Tamara, by the way.
But, no, it's joy.
Yeah, well, my journey into social media is very, very similar. Started out on MySpace, you know, jumped over to Facebook. I jumped on Twitter and had the same reaction. I was like, what is the purpose of this? Like, I can stalk celebrities. Like, that's awesome for 45 seconds. And so I was on there and I was like, okay, yeah, great, Twitter. But then I read Teach Like a Pirate by Dave Burgess and jumped on the Twitter train, and I got all these names and I was like, oh my gosh, who's this? Who's this? Oh my gosh, they're sharing all these awesome ideas. And then I started sharing. I was like, well, this is something I did. And then you start seeing all these other teachers looking at what you're doing and they think it's great. And I'm like, oh, but I just stole like all your ideas. So it just started being like this big snowball of what's going on, what hashtags am I using to get different information to different people and to get different information from other teachers. And it's just, it's blown up. I did the same thing Tamara did. I got 100 followers and I was like, whoa, like this is amazing. And I just recently got 1,000 followers and I was like, oh man, like I am like making it big time.
But hit of dopamine every time, right?
I know, all those milestones. You're like, dang, this is it. I'm like Jay-Z level now.
There you go.
But I just use it a lot. I use it to steal other people's ideas, and I'm just hoping that every once in a while they're looking at my ideas and saying, oh man, that's kind of cool. Can I steal that? Can I make that my own? And that's how I'm using social media, just any way possible to share. I've used it to get so many ideas from everyone else, like everyone on this panel. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm fangirling over here. Like, I can see them like face to face. It's crazy. I can't believe I'm on the panel with them. But that's, in a nutshell, that's my social media presence is throwing out content and then stealing other people's content.
We learn from each other out there. We don't need to feel lost and reinvent the wheel. We can learn so much from each other. Jeff, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into social media and what you've learned? And go ahead.
Yeah, I've been dabbling in social media for a while. Not in MySpace though. I did not get on that bandwagon. And
You're missing out, man.
I didn't think I was going to be on a panel that gave so many shout outs.
How'd you ever make it through?
Yeah. But like a couple of years ago, I was really invested in my district and doing this. And by the way, I'm doing a lot of like touching my glasses and like fixing my headphones, I feel like. So sorry about that. But anyways.
I almost knocked over the microphone a second.
Yeah. So. It was so close.
Yeah. So I, for a couple of years, I was dabbling there, but I was mostly invested in the people in my district. And for whatever reason, it wasn't clicking with my district and with my site where I was at the time. And so I decided to pull back, but I was like, you know what, I got some good ideas and I want to get them out there. And I had a friend who was encouraging me, hey, have you thought about writing that down? Have you thought about writing that down? And so I was like, well, I think I could write a book. I think I got a book in me. And if I'm going to write a book, I should probably get all these social media accounts to promote it. And so that's kind of like what led to the blog and on and on from there. And it's just really been a great way to connect and network. And I've learned so much. And now I'm moving into like podcasting space. And it's been really, really wonderful to connect because, and it turned out that I was right. There were some ideas that I had in me that did resonate with people out there. For whatever reason, it wasn't landing at my brick and mortar place, but it was landing out there. And so that's really why I got in. And then, yes, I'm also there for the theft and the stealing. So my main purposes.
There's a lot of value out there in theft and stealing.
That's the thumbnail right there.
Drive it like you stole it. Drive it like you stole it.
right, Miss Simon, can you tell us a little bit about your social media experience?
Well, I started on MySpace. actually, I really did. But Facebook for a long time was my social media. Almost the same exact story as most everybody's had here. But one of the things for me was I felt like I came a little later in life, so I got a buy because I was that parent and I was that person who kind of naysayed education for a little bit. And so now I get to be somebody like, remember how I said, I was a parent before I was a parent. I was such a great parent. Before I was a teacher, I was the best teacher and knew all about education until I became one. Right. And then it was like just the shock and awe of everything. And so now I feel like I get to say the hard things. I get to say, hey, this is stressful. This is a really challenging job. This is a really, and sometimes it feels like a job and sometimes it feels like a calling. And there's a whole lot of pressure. And so just being able to put those things out there and being able to kind of say the hard things every once in a while. So that's kind of the platform. I've only been on Twitter for 6 months, but it has been a saving grace. Kind of what Jeff was saying about the brick and mortar, just having trouble making connections here, not because there isn't passion, but sometimes there's a threat, I guess. I keep saying out there to people in my life everywhere, let's not be threatened by people's success. Let's be curious. Let's wonder about it, but let's not be threatened by it. Let's be excited. Let's ask questions. And conversely, let's share. Like, you got good stuff, share your stuff. We are all in this for the babies. We are all in this for the kids. We are all in this. I mean, I may not be the next female president, but I might be teaching her. Or the first one, I might be teaching her. So I gotta be prepared for these things. And so social media has been like, just a blessing, a boon to have all those people on Twitter having these same sort of passions and feelings and ideas, and just this synergistic talk with you guys has been ridiculous and crazy, and I'm so grateful. And so just getting the word out there about things like special education, dyslexia, talking about the hard things, talking about social emotional learning. So for me, it's a platform and just a way to share joy, share excitement, share ideas, and just get the same back. I mean, just feel that exact energy back, kind of reflected back.
It reminds me of an interview I heard recently with the founder of Twitter, and this is the heart of what he wanted Twitter to be. He wanted it to be a platform for people to connect. He wanted it to be a platform that we could share information. And I know he's been making the podcast rounds recently. I can't remember his name, it's on the top of my head, but a very interesting podcast on the Rich Roll podcast. I don't know if you ever hear that. It's a pretty famous one, but he interviewed him recently. And it was just a really, really neat to see that that's kind of like the mindset that he came from when he wanted to create it. And finally, Kristen, please go ahead and share with us, tell us about your journey with social media and how it's affected your teaching.
Absolutely. It was actually non-existent prior to just a few years ago. We were forbidden, strongly encouraged to not go there. And as much as I'm a disruptor, I am rule abiding in that way of like, listen, I have some professional compliancy there that I'm like, it wasn't worth it. It was just like, okay, it's all right. I'll stay in my little space. But here was the issue. At the time that I started to feel smaller and smaller, I was shrinking as an educator.
Right.
That was when I almost walked away. And I never, ever considered walking away from the children. I was shrinking because I didn't have options. I was shrinking because I didn't have opportunity. My district was not financially in a position to be able to send me anywhere to do anything. And I was within these four walls. And I'm a sharer. I'm an idea generator. I can't stop it. The ideas are constant. But with that, I also need the people that are willing to tweak it and implement it and help me make it come to fruition. And I didn't have that, not because I didn't have beautiful people within my wing, but my wing, I mean, we have a world out there. Like, this is global impact. So at the time, we had a change in administration, and Dr. J.C. Maslick is my assistant super, and actually we're in the midst of co-authoring a book together because of this. Nice. And she came in and she literally challenged us, and I am all about give me a challenge. I'm like, yeah. And she was like, okay, your first challenge is you're going to get on Twitter. And I was like, I don't even know how to do that, right? I am so embarrassed. I had no clue. So I was like, okay, so here's the thing. I am willing to do it, but can you please show me how? Because I don't have a clue. So she's like, oh my word. Like, I think she was just like, what is happening? And what did I get myself into? So I get on, and believe it or not, the very first opportunity that came my way was IMOOC. I mean, George Curis, innovator's mindset, like, what are the chances that was my first opportunity? I'm talking within my first 10 people to connect with. I had no idea how beautiful this moment was. And I was like, sign me up. Why not? Let's do it. Like, all of a sudden I had this chance to learn from other people. And from there, it was connecting with, they've become my dear friends. I mean, Tamara is my dear friend. We were ready to share a hotel room at a conference and we've never met each other, right? So I'm not kidding you. You can't make this stuff up, right? But here's the ticket. The ticket is that I am just one person in my student's life. I'm one. They know that when they walk in the door every day, they have all of you too. They know the names. They know the connections. They know all the books. My entire library is, they read them with me. I read when they read. So it's one of those moments like, oh my goodness, Mrs. Dan, what are you doing now? Play like a pirate? Oh my gosh, are we going to get into Legos today? Like, they get it. They get it. And so if I don't know something, I'm like, give me a second, let me vox them. I'm connecting, and I do it right in front of them. I'm like, okay, Tara, tell me this, what can we do? And they're reading to my children, because here's the thing, you humanize them, you bring them, you make children realize, don't put us up there. Don't put us as teachers any higher than you. Right. Like, we are all in this together. The minute you add that dimension, you're building and fueling an ego that has no business working with children. Right. So here we are with a platform like Twitter, and boom, we've got a family, a global impact every day for every kid, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's so true. And what something you said resonated with me was when you feel like you're in four walls and you're limited, it does close down your mindset and you feel like there are no options. When I knew that I had this to look forward to today after school, and I knew we had the St. Mary's thing that we just booked, and I felt like so excited in fourth period. My kids are like, why are you so jacked up?
Right?
I called on somebody, I'm like, give me that answer. Right? Because when you are fulfilled, that's when you're filled with
when you're fulfilled.
That's very scientific.
Yes, it is. When you're fulfilling who you are and reaching out to all these different channels of creativity, and like we are all doing right now, we're giving time to connect with each other to feel more engaged, then you are more energized for what you do. Education benefits as a result of the students who are in the descriptions. We will put a link to the books and the Twitter accounts and everything, because you guys deserve credit and followers, because you are the opinion leaders who are enabling people to create. And I'm so grateful that you would take the time to be with us today and share these stories and share this motivation. We talked social media, we talked positive moments, and we filled almost an hour. I'm so grateful, and I hope we can have you on again and talk about another subject. Tavis, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. I love doing this. I always feel so jazzed.
Yeah, we love you guys. We appreciate everything you've given us. Thank you for supporting Inspiring Teachers and being here. We'll see you on a future edition. And for everyone that's watching out there, class dismissed. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, guys.